Hi everybody, welcome out to the Dice Tower. My name is Chris Yee, and today I'm going to be taking a look at the solitaire play of Red Rising. This is a game that was reviewed about a year ago or so on the channel, and I gave it a very mixed review. I said that the highs were high and that the lows were low, and that bothered me so much, so I came in, I gave the regular game a 6.5, the 2 to 6 player version of it. This is a game that now, a year later, I'm still playing solo, right? I kind of fell into playing it solo after the review to see if I would enjoy that because I liked the world and the characters so much. And I found myself charmed by it, but it was a few months after we'd done the review, so I didn't really bother coming back to it. But as the months have gone by, now it's been a whole year, I keep playing this solo. So I thought, it's about time that I do a review on it actually, because I'm still playing it now. So let me show you how it plays and why I keep playing it. Here's the solo setup for a game of Red Rising. This is my hand of cards down here that I can just keep face up on the table because I'm not hiding them from anybody else. This is the Automa over here. They are going to be trying to chase down cards, and in this particular game, based on this setup, even cards, or it could be odd cards. They're going to be worth more points for it at the end of the game. These letters over here represent the frequency that they're going to take the actions, deploying and taking cards from A more frequently than B, more frequently than C, and then D. This is going to be what drives their behavior of the Automa deck. There's 4 cards discarded every time that it's shuffled, including at the start of the game. And when it takes its turns, it's going to flip over 2 of these and set cards out and then grab cards from that area. In this case, like I said, hoping for getting more even cards. An individual player's turn is going to be the exact same as a normal game where you set out, you do the deploy abilities, cards still get banished, and then you drop a card and then you take the action of the space that you took it from. So in this case, I get all of this stuff. Go Mars. Over here then it's going to be the Automa's turn. They're going to flip over 2 cards, doing 1 action at a time. So first, you see this one here says they're going to take the top card of the deck and place it out into Jupiter, in this case. So there are going to be more cards out there to work with. And then it's going to grab the card from stack A. In this case, it happens to be Jupiter, but it could be different things based on how these symbols line up and how these cards are randomized. This is a 10 card, but it's not really going to score those points. It's just going to get more points for the fact that it's an even one. Now, if the card on the bottom here shows a star, it'll take the action of that space. And in this situation here, it is going to indeed move up on the fleet track. The second card will flip over. You see it's going to deploy a card out to A. And then it's going to grab the card from Luna over here. It will take this. 0 in a solo game is considered an even number. And then it's going to banish the top card. That's what the symbol on the top means. So just another card, in this case Harmony. Goodbye, you're banished. That's an Automa turn, and so players are going to keep doing turns like normal, and then trying to get the points in the different areas. The end game triggers are the exact same. But you'll notice the next time the Automa takes a turn, it'll deploy a card out to D, it'll grab the card from C, but it won't activate the action nor banish a card. It's just going to move stuff around on the board. If ever in this situation, if this card came up, it is supposed to grab from C, but it can't. There's an arrow that will point left or right, so if it can't grab from here, it's going to move in the next direction and grab from over here instead. And so you can see that this is going to break the tie to the other direction. So you just keep playing until one player has 7 on the fleet track, influencing the Institute or Helium-3, or until between both you and the Automa player, all 3 of those conditions have at least 7. At the end of the game, you're going to count up the cards that the Automa was able to grab in its deck here. Based on whether it was odd or even, in this case even, those matching cards are going to be multiplied by whatever level you're playing against, so 6 points per even card. And then non-matching, so odd cards, are going to be worth 3 points each. It has a base of 70 points that you're going to be adding this amount to. And then at the end, you'll tally up as well where it is on the fleet track, how much helium it has, and then its relative majority scoring in the influence. And you'll go through and score up all of those things and determine its score. If you score higher than it, you've won the game. And if not, then, well, good luck. Rise again another time. I feel like you can see that this is an Automa Factory design because it's so smooth and streamlined and simple. The cards are very readable and easy. They're not beautiful per se. You flip over a card and do A or B or star symbol, right? But I like managing the AI because I don't have to think very much. It mixes up the market of cards so that there's new stuff constantly coming out. And stuff that I'm curious, I want to add that to my hand, I like that deploy ability, or I want to score these cards together. It gives me all the funnest parts of Red Rising, which is trying to get a perfect hand, and then trying to race for the 3 different objectives. But then, I also don't want the game to end too quickly, and the Automa will push the end game. Because it often takes the action of those spaces, not all the time, and it happens enough where it doesn't take an action where you say, woof, good, I got a breather this round. But it will keep doing things. It'll keep doing the shipping track or the institute or grabbing helium. The thing I think I explained in the overview is that the Luna space, right? When it grabs the sovereign marker, it will do one of the other 3 behaviors, right? And it's seeded based on the A, B, C, or D. That part is a little bit confusing. I almost always have to reread the example in the rulebook to know, okay, when it grabs from Luna, because the B card is in Luna and the C card is in the Institute, therefore I put the Institute symbol. If you saw in the overview, that's what that is. So depending on the game setup, the Luna space, when it grabs the sovereign token from there, it doesn't have a special ability. It's not, it's not Minerva or something like that. It'll just do whatever's shown there. In my example, it was put a cube in the Institute. And that's infuriating if you're trying to have the majority of the Institute at the end of the game, because now it has 2 different places that will allow it, at the Institute itself to put a cube out, or on Luna to put an Institute cube out. But on a different setup, by changing around the letters, by putting D on Luna and A at Mars, now it's going to more frequently take the Mars action. And that's a good way of kind of balancing out what the Automa is going to do and how it's going to keep putting pressure by racing to 7 of the helium crystals or 7 on the Institute or the shipping track. I think that's good. I think all those things are smart, and the best thing about it is that it takes away any need for me as the player to make decisions on behalf of the solo player. I never have to do that, which I think is a great sign. That's something I look for and that I admire whenever possible. And it's not in a steep series of flowcharts either. It's just do what the card says. When you set cards out at the top part of the Automa deck, you just put a card out. You don't activate the deployment ability. You don't do anything. You don't make decisions for the card. It just goes out there and then it picks one up somewhere. I love that because now I can just do the most fun parts. I can AP my hand of cards as much as I want. I can just splay them out on the table and say, what should I do? And I'm not holding up the game for anybody else. I'm not trying to hide the cards from other players. I'm not sifting through them to make sure, okay, don't forget not to play this card because it scores for this card back here. I need those together. I have the cards splayed out, and I don't care. I'm just having fun because I do love the world of Red Rising. This helps that I read the original trilogy, and I love seeing these characters. Whenever I can get Darrow and, I happen to have it paired with Severo and the Howlers together, and oh my goodness, there's Victor out there on the board. Sweet, I could get this. I could recreate this scene from the books with the cards in my hand. I love that. And I can also try and go for a really good score. I could try to hope to have, of course, the best score that I want, or I can kind of just, I'm going to try something that I would never try in a multiplayer game, because in a multiplayer game, I don't want to take silly risks and do things. If I have a card with a great deploy ability, I could deploy it out there, activate it, and there's a chance that the Automa won't take it, even though it's a great card. So I get to gamble that in its 2 card flips, it won't pick up that one because I put it on card space D, so it's less likely to grab it. Oh, but what about which spaces are empty out there, right? That could make it left or right grab from the place I deploy to. So I got some good choices, and I can kind of play the odds against the Automa deck. So fantastic. I get to do the best stuff of the game, and I never have to worry about the worst things, like players just, like playing out a card with a great deployability, it automatically gets picked up by somebody else, and I'll never get it again, or that one card just kind of keeps getting passed back and forth. There's a reason I didn't love Red Rising as a 2-player game. In a 6-player game, it's too chaotic, and so with the Automa, it mixes up that market enough that I'm very happy with how different the lineup of cards is by the time it comes back to my turn, but there is still some predictability in it and some exciting, great moves I get to pull off. That's awesome. That's everything I look for in a solo game. Something that I can quickly set up, it's not hard to manage, and it makes the game interesting and fun for me. Perfect. I think the biggest complaints I could say about it, if you're looking for a solo game, if you're a solo gamer, is that maybe you're not going to love the fact that the end game scoring is just kind of a multiplier. Based on the random selection of cards that it drew, you're going to try and find the 20 best scoring cards for itself. And what that means is, if it's trying to score even cards, you try to get up to 20 even cards. If it only grabs 16 even cards, and then you pad out the last 4 with odd number cards, each even card is multiplied by 6, each odd card is multiplied by 3, and you have some range of scores that it's going to basically reside in. And so it's, the end game is still exciting because you have a score that you're playing against, which I love, right? Instead of just did you score 100 to 150 points? Adequate job, soldier. I like that it fluctuates, but it's also fairly predictable. When you scale up the difficulty, it doesn't play against you wiser or harder. It just has a bigger endgame multiplying score. You might not love that. I will take that because the thing that you're giving up for, just ratcheting up the score or not, the thing that you're giving up in lieu of having a more challenging, growing opponent is I don't have to manage as much. I could play on the harder modes, and I'm not sitting there, now I have to learn rules, exceptions, and stuff for the Automa. It's always just smooth to play. I really like this. I'm going to level with you here. I'm only ever going to play Red Rising as a solo game here on out. And I only have for the last 8 months or 9 months or a year or so. And I think I'll keep it that way. I have kept my copy of Red Rising in my collection because I like it that much as a solo game. Easy to pull out, play. It doesn't feel light and frivolous, but it feels strategic and fun and everything. I'm still looking for the best combos and trying to push up the tracks and end the game on my terms instead of letting the solo player do it. But I feel compelled to keep coming back to it. And you can sit down and play it 2 or 3 times in one sitting, and it's still pretty darn satisfying. So I've kept it. It's a year later. I'm still playing it. That means that I think the solo mode is excellent. At least it fits a niche that I have in my collection. So I'm going to give this, for the solo mode, only an 8.5. I think the solo mode is excellent. It takes away all of the issues that I have, like mean abilities being activated against me, sitting there waiting for other people's turns, the market being way too messy in higher player count games. It takes away all of those lows that I talked about and only leaves the highest of the highs. So, of course, I think this is great. I'm just never going to play it 2 through 6 players ever again. So if you're looking for a game to add to your collection simply as a solo game, I think that this one's going to be pretty good if those things that I said appeal to you. So anyway, I wanted to give my thoughts on that because I felt like, hey, it's worth doing it even at this point. So until next time, my name is Chris Yee. Thank you for coming by another Dice Tower review. Have yourselves a fantastic day.